NFL scores.
All right. We're going to take it to last Thursday night. The Eagles versus the Giants.
Go ahead.
I'm sure you saw that game, right?
I did see a little bit of that game.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure you saw a little just because it was a blowout at the end. 34-13, Eagles beat the Giants. Carson Wentz showed up, put on an aerial show, 278 yards, 3 TDs. He was 26 of 36. Alshon Jeffries, fresh off an injury, second game back, 8 receptions, 74 yards, 2 TDs. He seems to be the preferred target for Carson Wentz. Zach Ertz stepped up again, 7 receptions, 43 yards, 1 TD. On the other side, we have the illustrious Eli Manning, 24 for 43 for 281 yards and 1 interception. But the man of the night and possibly the Council Sports MVP of the week, Saquon Barkley.
Big game for Saquon.
Stepped up, 13 carries, 130 yards, 1 TD, and that's on the ground alone. In the air, 9 receptions, 99 yards.
Couldn't he have just gotten that one more yard somehow?
Well, they took him out of the game. It was blowout. So they let Gallman come in, and he got the garbage yardage. But Odell Beckham had 6 receptions, 44 yards. It wasn't a typical Odell night, but he did make news for other reasons. You see he headbutted a cooling fan during the second half.
He did.
He did.
I'm surprised you're even mentioning that.
No, it's important.
You should keep that a secret.
We're fair and balanced here.
Okay.
We deliver all the news, even if it's not. It doesn't match my opinion of him. But he screamed on the sideline a bit. He was calmed by Saquon Barkley. He also left for the locker room a little bit early before halftime. But apparently that was okay because the coach told him he could go because of cramping, which he's been having an issue with.
So they say.
Yeah, but, again, Odell motivates himself in different ways. He said that it was a way to motivate himself. It kind of really got him going. And so that's the long and short of it. They took a L, and there were some very noticeable things about this loss that stood out.
Well, the Giants are about to wrap it up. They are 1-5. Eagles are about to wrap it up.
It's over.
It's over. It's such a bad division, but 1-5. Ooh. Eagles will go to 3-3.
I would say you guys. Well, I say you guys because you're from New York.
I don't claim
you're
the
not
Giants.
A Giants fan.
No.
Right. I would say Giants fans, you would have a shot, except that I've seen nothing that makes me believe that they can just rattle off like 4 or 5 straight wins, which is
3
in
a row. You're going to need 3 in a row.
Yeah. So, and this was an opportunity to do something on a short week, but they didn't do it at all.
In the very tough NFC South, the Buccaneers travel to Atlanta to play the Falcons. Falcons finally get a much-needed W. They go to now 2-4. Bucks fall to 2-3.
All right.
Falcons with the win, 34-29.
All right, I'm following the sheet here. But the Bucks and the Falcons, that was a very good game. Action-packed. Falcons won the game, 34-29. Very close down the stretch. Jameis Winston showed up this week and showed why he should be the starter. He was 30 for 41. He had 395 yards on 4 TDs and 2 INTs. Peyton Barber helped out on the ground with 82 yards. And then also Jameis, the 3 of the 4 touchdowns that he threw out, it went to Godwin, Howard, Barber, and Brate. So he spread the ball around evenly. On the other side, in a winning effort, Matt Ryan with 31 for 41, 354 yards, 3 TDs. Tevin Coleman had 10 carries for 35 yards. And Julio Jones had 10 receptions for 143 yards. And Austin Hooper had 9 receptions, 71 yards, 1 TD. Mohamed Sanu had 2 receptions, 46 yards, and 1 TD. The one interesting thing about this game, Julio Jones continued the narrative of no touchdowns, even though he was a monster through the air.
He keeps doing that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's just not getting the looks or it's just not working out. But 10 receptions and 143 yards is not pedestrian. I'm
going to chalk that up to him being the hell of a decoy.
Yeah.
Especially in the red zone. You're getting a lot of attention.
That's what it is.
As long as your team is scoring, and they have been scoring. They've been losing, but they've been scoring.
They have. But I'll tell you this. He may be the only thing they have left because they are continually being bitten by the injury bug. Mohamed Sanu had to leave with a hip injury. He couldn't finish the game. And their star rookie, Ridley, he had to leave the game with an ankle injury. So, you just add this to the list of issues like Devonta Freeman is still out. But back to Jameis Winston. The game did end up a little bit on a sloppy note. But when you looked at the play, and I don't know if you know the play I'm talking about, it's like end of the game, time's running down. They made it down the field, and they had one last heave into the end zone. And Jameis did this weird, like, tuck the ball and run thing.
Yeah.
And everybody looked, and I said, what's going on? But it looked so sloppy that nobody knew what was happening. And all of a sudden, he trips, like a fumble's about to happen, laterals the ball behind him. It kind of hits the ground. The first guy, I have to look to see what his name was, but he missed the ball completely because he saw the end zone. He got excited. But then they ended up, at the end of the play, possibly being tossed off to Deshaun Jackson, and just the ball fell at his feet, and he couldn't grab it, and that was it, and the clock ran out. But they almost pulled it off. Almost pulled off the improbable.
Jameis is magic. He's the real magic. He makes things happen from out of nowhere.
Jameis is good. And
he's just half crazy. He's just country crazy.
No, he's young. You got to see these guys coming to the league. They're not fully seasoned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to think about how you were when you were in your 20s, like 21, 22, and how you think now, how you probably approach the game. Like, he's maturing. But I think he's learned his lesson because we haven't heard anything else. Mm-hmm. And he did show up last week, so we'll see what he can do.
He definitely shows up for football games. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he's a gamer.
In the AFC North, the Steelers finally get a win. They go to 3-2 versus the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati, who fall to 4-2. Steelers are the victors, 28-21.
All right, they did get the W. Ben Roethlisberger had a pretty good day, not the best day he's ever had, but he was 32 for 46, 369 yards and 1 TD. James Conner helped them out immensely on the ground, 19 carries for 111 yards and 2 TDs. Smith-Schuster showed up with 7 receptions for 111 yards, and Antonio Brown had 5 receptions, 105 yards, and the game-winning TD. Now, his TD was interesting because he took a hit during the middle of the game from one of the players that always lights them up.
Yeah.
And he ended up leaving the game, coming back, game-winning TD, last play of the game. Like, it was a walk-off touchdown, if that makes any sense. Andy Dalton on the other side was 26 for 42, 229 yards, 2 TDs. Their running back, Joe Mixon, stepped up, 11 carries, 64 yards, 1 TD. Green, their wide receiver, the star wide receiver for Cincinnati, had 7 receptions and 85 yards. Boyd, their other receiver, had 7 receptions, 62 yards, 2 TDs. And I'll throw this in there to kind of really just cap off this game. James Conner has had 7 rushing touchdowns in 6 games.
Yes.
So do you know the other person that's done that?
Probably Le'Veon Bell.
Nah, it's not Le'Veon. No, it's not Le'Veon. Franco Harris. And also Jerome Bettis did it back in 2004. So this week, Steelers are on a bye. The Bengals get Kansas City.
The Steelers have actually, I believe, beaten the Bengals 8 straight.
That makes sense.
8. Well, the Bengals are always at the top of the division or near it for that period of time.
Yeah, but Marvin Lewis is there, so
that is.
And I hate to say that because I think he seems like a great guy, but
right, they lose big games.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. The Cleveland Browns back to earth as the Chargers go to Cleveland and put it on them, 38-14 Chargers. Chargers is starting to look like a dark horse for the playoffs, if you can call 4-2 a dark horse. Cleveland Browns fall to 2-3.
The Chargers are that sneaky team that
I don't think it's sneaky.
Well, it's sneaky
I don't think it's
to most
sneaky
people because they're so busy paying attention to the big names.
Yeah, well,
Denver, Kansas City, everybody gets really excited.
As long as they have Phillip Rivers, they come into a season with the outlook that they have a chance to win a championship. Unfortunately, they never really have enough of a team around them. It's like they've been rebuilding after LT for what seems like 5 years now.
They're trying.
Like, you don't need to. You just have Phillip Rivers, put a defense on the field, and a receiver and a average running back, and you're gonna be there.
They're trying. They've had injury issues also. I mean, even rookies and so forth going down. Like Joey Bosa, still hurt. But it seems to be coming together for them. But they did put up a very good victory versus the Browns, who, by the way, have a very stout defense. Phillip Rivers' numbers were 11 for 20, 207 yards.
Right, so
3 TDs.
Keep it on the ground.
Solid day. Gordon had 18 carries, 123 yards, 3 TDs on the ground. Tyrell Williams was the main guy, I guess the long guy with the big numbers, 3 receptions, 118 yards, 2 TDs. On the other side, Baker Mayfield, 22 for 46, 238 yards, 1 TD, and 2 interceptions. And David Njoku had 7 receptions and 55 yards and 1 TD for the Browns. There's nobody mentioned as far as a running back or a running attack on the ground because it wasn't very impressive.
Okay, the Seattle Seahawks at Oakland with the victory, 27-23. Oakland Raiders continue to look horrible. They fall to 1-5, beginning to really look at that number 1 pick. The Seahawks improved to 3-3.
Well, what I'll tell you is that game was the Council Sports spanking of the week. Like they laid it on them.
That's the teabagging of the week.
Yes, it was, and it was they took one, and it happened over in London, which and I was kind of surprised because I thought that Seattle and the Raiders would be like a slobber knocker, mainly because a bunch of guys were coming.
What's a slobber knocker?
A slobber knocker is like you hit somebody so hard that slobber comes. Slobber knocker, yeah. So that's what I thought it was going to be, but it didn't turn out that way. Of course, Russell Wilson came in there, led those guys to victory, and I'm sitting here looking for my stats. If you can bear with me for a second, but anyhow, so Russell Wilson, 17 for 23, 222 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception. Chris Carson helped them out on the ground, 14 carries for 59 yards. Baldwin came back this week, 6 receptions, 91 yards. David Carr had a pedestrian day. You probably could have thrown for more yards. He had 142 of them on 23 for 31 passing, and he also shed a few thousand tears because he took a lot of hits that game. It was tough. There was even a picture of him crying, and I was like, man, I don't think there's any crying in the black hole, but
wow.
Apparently,
it's interesting how that whole team is turning out and how the whole David Carr. This is why I hate. Hate is a strong word.
Okay.
I don't like ESPN.
Okay.
Only because they just continue to try to convince me of stuff and continue to try to push narratives. A year ago, Derek Carr was the greatest thing ever.
Well, yeah, a couple years ago, he was in a conversation for MVP, but he got hurt. His numbers were legitimate. The numbers were legitimate.
Look, they're always looking to anoint the next one. They never let it roll out. It's because, it's a continuous loop, 24/7, 5 channels plus. You know what I mean? I believe they had a dodgeball tournament on the Ocho at one point. You know what I mean? So they're always looking for content, and they're always filling the airwaves with narratives that don't exist. Like,
I don't think it's David Carr's fault completely. I think it starts with Jon Gruden. And the question that you have to kind of ask yourself is, do you think that Jon Gruden is a marquee coach? And we've had conversations about this.
Based on his resume, he is.
His resume?
He's got a Super Bowl championship.
Okay, so, yes, he does have a Super Bowl championship. But it came from...
There's only been, I believe, 51 of those?
Yeah, that's true. But he also inherited a team that Tony Dungy put together, too.
Yes.
So
that
I kind of put, personally, an asterisk on it. I mean, it still counts because he won one. But I still kind of put a little asterisk on it because I feel like if Tony Dungy had stayed around, he probably could have won it himself. But that's a whole nother thing.
You know what? He was so defense. I think you needed the offense something to kickstart the offense. But
I don't know.
you
But
know,
I kind of got to thinking. I said, let me look at Gruden's stats to see what his numbers are as a coach. And what I kind of found out was that in 4 seasons with the Raiders, he was 38-26. And remember, they traded him to the Buccaneers, right, in 2002.
Right.
And then when he went to Tampa Bay, they ended up meeting Oakland in the Super Bowl, and they won 48-21. We all remember that. But Gruden has an overall coaching record of 95-81.
That's good. Let me give you another overall record. Derek Carr, 29-39. 52 career touchdown. No, 110 career touchdown passes to 52 interceptions. So that's definitely a good ratio. 87.7 career quarterback rating. So, he's not a top 5 quarterback. He's not a top 10 quarterback.
Well, Gruden is a quarterback whisperer, which confuses me the most. Like, I can see if, okay, the defense is not the best. You got rid of your best defensive player. All right, we'll let that go. But the one thing that you're good at is getting your quarterback to play better and to be able to put up points on the board. Mm-hmm. It's not happening.
To be fair to Derek Carr this season, 71% completion, just under 2,000 yards so far, 7 touchdowns, 8 picks. Right. So,
It's been a tough year.
The talent's definitely there. It's definitely there. So I don't want to like I'm beating down on him, but
he definitely
just a little bit overrated.
Yeah. So we're going to see what's going to happen. But I'll be honest with you. I think they are starting to stare at that top 5 pick.
Number 1.
I feel it coming.
Number 1 is what you want.
I feel it coming.
The Bears and the Dolphins in Miami. Dolphins with the victory, 31-28. Dolphins looking, if not good, they're doing good. And my improper use of grammar there is on purpose because they're not. I wouldn't say they're doing well or they're doing excellent. They're just good.
Yeah.
31-28. Dolphins go to 4-2. Bears fall to 3-2.
Very interesting game. The part of the game that was probably the most poignant was at the end of, during overtime. Kenyon Drake had the ball, and he was running it in, crossing the line, and the ball was knocked out of his hand, fumbled on the 1. The rookie, the guy that barely gets, well, he's not a rookie, second-year player, but he barely gets a lot of play, and everybody thinks he deserves more play. Well, he coughed the ball up. So he's on the sidelines, he's got a towel over his head. He's having that kind of day. So the Bears get the ball, go all the way down, end up trying to kick a field goal, and they miss. Turn back around, give the ball back to the Dolphins again. They win with an improbable field goal kick in overtime. Kenyon Drake is now he can pick his head up a little bit more than what he was doing before, but the Bears take the loss. Trubisky, he was 22 for 31, 316 yards, 3 TDs, 3 interceptions. Jordan Howard had 14 carries for 69 yards. Trubisky actually also helped on the ground. He had 8 carries for 47 yards. Tariq Cohen had 5 carries for 31 yards and 1 TD. He also helped through the air with 7 receptions, 90 yards. Taylor Gabriel was their leading receiver for Chicago, 5 receptions, 110 yards. Brett Osweiler. There was a Brett Osweiler sighting.
Brad.
Brett.
Yeah.
It's Brett.
No,
It's Brett, I think.
Brock.
What difference does it make? It's an Osweiler that showed up, and he ended up doing pretty well. He's so in and out of the league. Like, he's on different teams, different places. They hand the franchise to him, and he kind of has some struggles here and there. But yesterday he stepped up, mysteriously starting. No one knew that the starting quarterback for the Dolphins was going to sit the game out. They kept it a secret, but he ended up starting, had 28 passes. He had 28 completions on 44 attempts, 380 yards, 3 TDs, 2 INTs. Frank Gore helped out on the ground, 15 carries for 101 yards. Kenyon Drake had 13 carries for 57 yards. Danny Amendola had 8 receptions for 59 yards. Albert Wilson had 6 receptions, 155 yards, and 2 TDs.
The Cardinals and the Vikings in Minnesota. Vikings get the W, 27-17. What were the highlights? You got the highlights of that game?
The Vikings.
Yeah, the Vikings and the Cardinals. 27-17 Vikings.
Well, first thing I'll tell you about that game is that when they began, they struggled in the first half. They didn't really come out. The Vikings didn't until the second half and kind of put their foot down and bring it home. Because, the Cardinals are working kind of shorthanded anyway because for whatever reason they can't seem to figure out, what to do from a coaching perspective. Kirk Cousins had 24 completions on 34 attempts, 233 yards through the air, and 1 TD on the ground. Latavius Murray had 24 carries for 155 yards and 1 TD. Adam Thielen helped out with 11 receptions, 123 yards.
He's been looking so
and 1
good.
TD. He looks amazing. He is the first wide receiver, I guess, in NFL history since 1961 with a streak this long. He has 58 catches, and it's the most in league history through 6 games.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. 58 catches through 6 games.
Yeah, he's putting in work. He's having like 10 or 11
I'm just
catches.
going to project that out to 16.
Yeah, he's doing very well. He is doing very well.
That would be 154. Does he have over/under on Thielen? 150 catches for the year.
I think he can do that. I think he should probably get 10 catches a game.
That's crazy.
I don't know if it's the yellow gloves. That guy doesn't drop anything. Anything thrown in his area, he catches, and that's why the quarterback keeps throwing the rock to him.
As you should.
That's right. Josh Rosen, on the other side, didn't do so well. 21 for 31, 240 yards, and 1 interception. David Johnson had 18 carries for 55 yards and 1 TD. Christian Kirk, he's slowly creeping up on the scene. He has 6 receptions for 77 yards. He appears to be a favorite target of Josh Rosen. And Larry Fitzgerald had 5 receptions for 39 yards. And I did see some rumblings that I heard that Larry Fitzgerald Sr. is very unhappy with what's going on there. So I'm thinking that his son's probably not getting the ball like he should. It's probably a coaching issue.
It's a quarterback issue.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but
it's a combination of the two.
But last year he did okay.
It's a combination of the two.
So I don't know what type of plays.
A receiver like that makes a quarterback better, especially when it comes to analytics, and you start looking at those numbers. That's a couple of extra catches that help your percentages. So you definitely should be looking to him for 15 targets.
Well, that could be the issue there, too. But I do know I lean towards it probably being a coaching issue because David Johnson's numbers have been way down.
Right.
And he's a very good running back. So that just tells me that I don't know what's going on. They haven't figured out how to use their best weapons. But,
really?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
This is Larry Fitzgerald.
You at least.
Your franchise. He's your franchise.
Throw the ball to him. 15 times.
That is your franchise player.
You have nothing else. I throw the ball to him 15 times.
Incredible. The Colts take a L, losing to the New York Jets 42-34 at MetLife Stadium. Good game for the Jets, who've now won 2 in a row. What were the notable players of that game?
Well, as I scroll up to find them, I'll tell you this. The Jets stepped out. They had a very good, handy defensive performance. They had a pick six and did a few other things to let me know that I think they're really trying to be here and they're really trying to compete. I don't know if they can do it every week, but it was an impressive win, to say the least. Sam Darnold was 24 for 30.
That's his best game.
280 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Bilal Powell helped out on the ground, 16 carries for 59 yards. Javon Kearse has seemed to be coming back from his injury issues with 9 receptions, 94 yards.
He's just an extra player, honestly.
An extra player?
He's like your third or fourth receiver. He's just...
Well, he came back. He put in work. Quincy Enunwa got hurt this week.
Yes.
So that kind of hurt a little bit. So that's probably why Javon's numbers were up. But that's still impressive. Terrell Pryor had 5 receptions, 57 yards.
He's looking good.
1 TD. maybe it's coming together. Who
As a matter of
knows?
fact, he's better than Curse.
Yeah. Now, the big story of this game was Jason Myers kicking a franchise 7 field goals. The league record is 8. So he was one off from that this past weekend. Andrew Luck on the other side in a losing effort was 23 for 43, 301 yards, 4 TDs, and 3 interceptions. It's not pretty, but it is what it is. Marlon Mack had 12 carries, 89 yards. Eric Ebron had 4 receptions for 71 yards.
Eric Ebron is still looking good. What do you have his total numbers for the season yet? No, I'll get that.
I don't have it pulled up, but his numbers should be pretty impressive. But like we're talking about volume, they feed him the ball.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, he's always open, and Andrew always passes the ball to him. The interesting thing about this, the one thing that jumped off the page to me, Andrew Luck probably has some of the best news conferences you'll probably ever see, because he takes the heat off himself before the questions are asked by insulting himself. Let me tell you what he said.
Yeah.
He says, he says, well, at times, especially when I do things, stupid is the only word that comes to mind, he said. We do some silly things to ourselves, but when it comes to having fun playing, I'm having fun playing. What can you say to a guy at a news conference? What can you ask him?
You just got to cheer for that guy.
Yeah.
You just got to cheer for that
There's
guy.
nothing you can do. And so people could take a lesson from this, to come out and just be like, well, you act like you didn't know what happened,
right,
or you didn't see what happened, or you still had a great game.
Or you want to blame it on someone else.
Right.
Even though it was someone else's fault.
Every week, blame me. It was stupid.
Right.
That's it. So kudos to Andrew Luck. He's teaching people how to appropriately do a news conference, so that way nobody's going to talk about this. It's not even interesting. You just pick your stuff up and leave. So
just flying under the radar.
That's it. But he did have a pretty good game. I mean, but at the same time, they took that loss, which is not good.
The Washington Redskins have now stepped out in front in the NFC East thanks to a victory at home over the Carolina Panthers. Redskins 23, Panthers 17. Redskins go to 3-2. Panthers fall to 3-2.
Well, let's get to the numbers, and then we'll get to what's underneath the surface. First of all, Cam Newton. He stepped up in a losing effort, 27 for 40, 275 yards through the air, 2 TDs, and 1 interception. But, he not only works in the air, he works on the ground too, and probably on the sea. 9 carries, 43 yards is what he had on the ground. Christian McCaffrey had more of a quiet day. He had 8 carries for 20 yards, 7 receptions for 46 yards. Devin Funchess was their leading receiver with 5 receptions, 74 yards, and 1 TD. And in a winning effort, Alex Smith was 21 for 36, 163 yards, and 2 TDs. Adrian Peterson, the ageless Adrian Peterson, 17 carries for 97 yards. Vernon Davis and Paul Richardson were the recipients of Alex Smith's 2 TDs. Now on to the underlying issues that beset this team. Josh Norman last week actually had a very good week. He had a really good week at interception on Cam Newton, which was a big deal. But the week before that, when they played New Orleans, it didn't go so well. I don't know if you remember, they said that Josh was benched. He was benched and didn't play the second half.
Yeah.
Well, we found out why. Right. The sources say that Josh Norman was in the locker room at halftime.
Thinking about quitting, going home.
No, not that one. Not that one. He was actually sitting there with his headphones on while the coach was giving his halftime speech.
Nice.
And the coach, told him to take them off. I guess maybe he couldn't hear him. Somebody said the coach took them off, and then he didn't play the second half, and supposedly got a fine.
Right. I would have very, very little tolerance. Very little tolerance for stuff like that, because those people, they just poison your whole locker room. They poison the entire environment. People start following them. You know what I mean? Player like that, you got a young 22, 23-year-old corner on the team who wants to be like him.
I don't know. I start to think about whether those actions are speaking to a bigger issue, right? So if you respect your coach, you're not going to have your headphones on. But maybe it's gotten to the point where this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So why should I have to listen? It doesn't make it right.
Right.
But I think there's something happening there. And you might have some issues. And they've paid him, too. So they're stuck with him.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But that was interesting. Maybe he'll get a sponsorship from Beats by Dre or something.
Ridiculous.
When you don't want to listen to your coach, go for that quality sound.
Do you think he was really listening to something?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he had it cranked up. It was probably some top hit or something, I guarantee.
Buffalo Bills lose to the Texans in Houston, 20-13. Texans go to 3-3. The Bills fall to 2-4. Bills should be very happy right now, sitting with 2 wins.
Yeah, but it's looking kind of ugly for them right now. Their starting quarterback got hurt in this game, and Nathan Peterman came in right.
Who?
Nathan Peterman
came
in and served up the pick 6 to end the game. Well, actually, it iced the game. The aforementioned Josh Allen, which I didn't name, he got injured. He was 10 for 17, had 84 yards before that happened. Peterman came in and finished off with 6 for 12, 61 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. LaShawn McCoy had 16 carries for 73 yards on the ground. On the other side, in a winning effort, Deshaun Watson was 15 for 25, 177 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. Lamar Miller had 15 carries for 46 yards. He also had 5 receptions for 63 yards and 1 TD. And Jonathan Joseph was the recipient of that interception that he ran back for, pick 6 to end the game. You know, I'm sitting here looking at all these stats, and I'm starting to think I might have to get used to seeing these small stat lines.
You mean from Buffalo?
Just not from Buffalo, from quarterbacks. Everybody's like.
But shouldn't it be the opposite?
15 for 20, 150 yards, 2 TDs. Like, I'm not understanding. Like, you can't throw for 300 yards. Like, I don't get it. And if you're not throwing for 300, then you should at least make it up on the ground. So I'm not seeing any 100-yard days. It's just like the weirdest thing. Like, when you see that stat line, you say, oh, he lost. He definitely lost. But they won.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you know, I think it's a big falsehood that you got to throw the ball 50 times to be a winner in the NFL. Football changes, but, you know, certain things like running the football, pounding the other team, having the clock on your side, keeping the defense off the field is why a quarterback throws only 25, 30 times. That's winning football. I don't care what era it is. That is winning football. Now, if you have 3, 4, or even 2 fantastic wide receivers, a running back that can catch everything, a quarterback with a rocket on his arm and knows how to read defenses and throw the ball, then fine, yes. Tom Brady, yes. Go ahead and do what you do. But I guarantee you the Patriots are going to get 25, 30 carries in there somehow, some way.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm still accustomed to saying at least 250, 300 yards. So that makes me start to think about accuracy issues. I don't know what's happening, but it's not pretty.
The Rams continue to roll. They remain undefeated. 23-20 over the Broncos. It was a little bit of a test, not much of a test, as the Rams did hold a 20-10 lead going into the fourth quarter. Broncos made it interesting, but still came up short.
The Broncos need to work on their run defense because they're letting everything through there. As your boy Bart Scott said, your favorite middle linebacker, they can't stop a nosebleed.
Bart Scott's the best.
That's what was going on. Jared Goff came out in this victory, 14 for 28, 201 yards, and 1 interception. Todd Gurley, 28 carries, 208 yards, 2 TDs. Now, this is the real performer, the second best performer of the day besides Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
He ran for 208 yards. That's a lot of yards. Robert Woods had 7 receptions in the air, 109 yards on the
Think about L.A. 2 years ago, no team. Now they had 2 teams that are headed towards, that are looking good at this point in the season.
Yeah.
You know, and I still count the Raiders as an L.A. team. That's not, they're not looking good, but at least the 2 teams that you can actually go to their games in L.A. both of them are playing really well.
Yeah. Now, on the other side, Case Keenum, 25 for 41, 322 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Ground game was not good for the Broncos, so there's no need to really say anything about that. But Emmanuel Sanders in the air had 7 receptions, 115 yards, and 1 TD. Demaryius Thomas had 3 receptions for 57 yards and 1 TD. Bradley Chubb on the defensive side, he had a notable day with 3 sacks.
All right.
Very impressive.
All right. We're a little bit behind, so we got to run through kind of fast. So
Let's do it.
Jaguars at the Cowboys. Cowboys finally let loose, 40-7. They go to 3-3. Jaguars fall to 3-3.
All I can say about this is Jalen Ramsey had to sit there and eat it, and he couldn't say a word. They got spanked. And the main reason I think they got handled like they did, the defense didn't show up, but the thing that makes me have pause to say that they are an elite defensive team or an elite team is the fact that they don't have offensive presence. And I think I'm willing to say here, if Blake Bortles remains the quarterback or continues to be the quarterback for this team, he's going to cost them ever probably going to a Super Bowl and probably even winning one because he's not getting it done. And he's been in the league a long time. So
This is his 4th year.
yeah, it's long enough. With that defense, you're trying to win now. You don't have time to wait 4, 5, 6, 7 years for him to kind of figure it out. It just is what it is. So Dak Prescott stepped up. He had a very good showing. Ezekiel Elliott did what he did. Their defense was very impressive, I got to say. And it's the second straight week they've kind of shown up, even in losing efforts. Their defense seems to be putting the maximum effort out there on the field.
The Baltimore Ravens with a 21-0 shutout over the Titans. Ravens go to 4-2. Titans fall to 3-3.
All I can say about this is sack city. I mean, they put it on these guys. They just sacked them. There's nothing they can do about it. I think they had like 11 sacks on them and just pretty much submitted them. They just grounded and pounded them the entire day. So the Ravens are for real. Their defense is for real, and I think that they're going to be a force to reckon with in their division.
All right, the game of the week.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs took on the New England Patriots at Gillette. Is it still Gillette?
Yes.
We'll just call it Gillette. I was about to say Foxborough. At Gillette, 43-40. Patriots win with a walk-off. Was it a field goal?
It was.
All right. They go to 4-2. Chiefs fall to 5-1. No longer undefeated, but a strong showing. And before you get to some of the notable information in this game, I'm going to tell you what I thought about when the Chiefs got the ball with 3:30 left.
Okay. I already know what you're going to say.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, you got to find a way to like burn 2 minutes off this clock, because if you score and give him back the ball with a minute, you're going to lose. And sure enough, one play. They got one play.
But here's the gamble, though.
I know.
You assume that you can score the touchdown, but that's not guaranteed.
I know.
You can fall down at the 1 yard line and then not score.
Right. You could run the ball twice and get stuck, and it'd be a loss.
Or you can fumble the ball.
Right.
You just say, you know what? Let's just run and see what happens.
Right.
Yeah, that's the risk that you run. But I mean, I already knew that. I was like, man, you don't even want to give the ball back to Brady with a minute on the clock.
With a minute.
He had all 3 timeouts too. Yeah,
that might as well be a quarter for him, and you're not going to get the ball.
And not even a touchdown is what they needed. A field goal. That's easy. That's two completions. It's over with.
Like I'm telling you, his weapons right now. Josh Gordon's getting the ball. Kadaro Patterson's getting the ball. Edelman's getting the ball. Gronk is getting the ball.
Sony Michel.
Michel's getting the ball.
106
White's
yards.
getting the ball.
Yeah. Michelle had 106 yards, 2 TDs. Julian Edelman, 4 receptions, 54 yards, 1 TD. Tom Brady, 24 for 35, 340 yards, 1 TD. On the other side, Patrick Mahomes, 23 for 36, 352 yards, 4 TDs, and 2 interceptions. And a brief note, what I noticed with him in the first half, even though they were losing, he was never shook. He was never sweating.
Never.
He was never concerned. He would go sit down on the side. Andy Reid would be going through his notes. And then as the game continued to progress, he seemed to get a little bit more comfortable. He didn't miss some of the throws that he missed early on. So he had a very good showing. Kareem Hunt did his best, 10 carries, 80 yards on the ground. Tyreek Hill had 7 receptions, 142 yards, and 3 TDs. Monster night. Yeah, he's fast. He might.
Yeah.
He's supersonic. Like, he just runs past everybody. And people, those DBs are fast. They were converging on him, and he just outran everybody. There's nothing they can do about it. Kareem Hunt also had 5 receptions, 105 yards, and 1 TD. But, yeah, back to Mahomes. I mean, I can't say enough about him because he went into Foxborough and almost took that away. And I don't know if New England feels like somebody's on their heels or not, but you definitely need to look at Kansas City, who also had 4 or 5 of their starters out, including defensive starters that are a big deal to that team. So I expect to probably see these two playing each other again.
Something else from that game that I noted. And I don't even remember what it was.
Nah, it's no big deal. No big deal.
Oh, yeah. A few plays where you can see Mahomes' wild style come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, the dude he's running left, he's running right, he's throwing to the other side, he's trying to hit tight windows. You can start to see, the great job of taming the stallion that Andy Reid has done.
He's a gunslinger.
He's a gunslinger. And, you could do all you can to try to keep him in the box. That box can't hold him. He's going to throw into crowds. And when I saw the number of times that he threw into crowds, it reminded me of what we were said about him like the first week.
Mm-hmm.
If you are okay with the one pick he's going to throw,
yeah,
you're going to get some touchdowns. So that's really the toss-up.
Now, what I do think that they could use, if they can go out and get a big receiver, it's hard to find one, but like a Randy Moss type of guy that can go up to the point and catch a ball.
Right.
With Mahomes.
Oh, my goodness. It's Travis Kelce right now.
That's it. Well, Travis is doing a good job, but can you get him one more of those? And it's over.
Yeah.
Because you can't stop.
Well, if you can get a receiver, that's, Kelce's
that's quick,
right.
that can just catch a ball, and it's over.